Hi, this is Sarah Meixel with the Pig Site, working in collaboration with LifeStart Swine. And today we're online with Dr. Aline Remus. She is a research scientist at the Sherbrooke R&D Center at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada based in Quebec. Dr. Remus's research focuses on precision nutrition and metabolism in pigs. Thanks so much for being with us today, Dr. Remus.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're tickled to have you join us today. And today we're going to talk about your research on precision feeding, which is really exciting because we haven't talked a lot about this previously. So we're going to start kind of at the very beginning. What is precision feeding in pigs? Tell us what it's all about.
Precision feeding is providing animals, individuals, or small groups of animals with daily tailored diets, meaning that we not only consider the changes in requirements over time, but also among animals. So we tailor for each one of them, like basically if you're doing a coat for each one of them, and this coat will change every day as function of their growth performance.
Very good. And why is precision feeding important to the pig industry?
It's a good example of how technology can help us to be more sustainable and does not come at additional cost. Yes, you do have the cost of technology, but precision feeding will bring back to you a saving of around 10 to 12%. So it does help you to pay back the investments. But more than that, it decreases phosphorus and nitrogen excretion, which is a big problem that we have, by almost 40%, and can decrease lies in the diet that is our first limiting amino acid, and is big uh, plays a big role there in the cost of feed. It can reduce this one by 17, 20%, or even in some case 30%. So you have the decrease on CO2 production, for example, global warming gases by 8%. So it's a good example of how technology and sustainability can go hand to hand.
Excellent, very good. And how do you determine the right ration, meaning diets and amounts, for the different stages of pig development?
So that's very interesting. In terms of amount, we do not control the amount. We let them eat ad libitum. So to determine what they should receive, we measure in real time their body weight and their feed intake, and we collect data, for example, until yesterday midnight. And today we do a very short prediction in a window of 24 hours, and we predict how much these animals will eat and how much they will grow. And then we have two feeds. Feed A is very concentrated in nutrients, and feed B is not so dense. Let's say, I don't want to use the word poor, but it's low
Right.
concentrated in nutrients. And by proportion, we can mix this diet and we can provide like 100 diets per day if you want. As many pigs as we have in the pen, we will provide the diet accordingly. And we will not control the amount. We will give ad libitum, but we will control the amount of nutrients that we're giving to them.
Very good. So when you have, let's say, a pen of pigs, right? They're all getting the same diet, then that pen is getting us all the same diet. It's not a per pig precision feeding setup. It's a per pen. Is that the right way to think of it?
You have both. You can have group precision feeding, where the pen will receive a diet that will change every day as function of the pen. We normally aim to meet the requirements of 80% of the population so that we don't overfeed them, but also don't cost us too much, right? We also have individual precision feeding where we give one diet for each pig every day. But they always stay in the same pen, right? So if you have 100 pigs in that pen, likely you're giving 100 diets in that day because each one is receiving their tailored diet.
So, and when you say tailored diet, you mean they're going to eat as much as they need to eat, or they're going to get a little different ration than the pig next to them?
So the amount is really ad libitum. They can eat as much as they want, but the amount of nutrient will be different. So the concentration, the density of the diet will change for each animal. You have, for example, a fast-growing pig that will have a greater requirement than a slow grower
Right.
pig, and we will adjust as function of that growth rate of those animals.
Very good. And you started talking a little bit about your research. Let's tell us more about what you're doing on the farm and how you're managing this, and what are some of the learned outcomes that you have from it.
So we have been working this line. I myself have been working the last 10 years, but Dr. Pomar actually kind of came up with the idea for growing finishing pigs. So we actually started from the very beginning. We learned a little bit how to model the requirements. We learned that the way we determine requirements for precision fed pigs is different than the traditional phase feeding. We also learned that the amino acid profile, as we normally use for phase or conventional feeding, is also different for precision feeding. Uh, Precision fed pigs will not answer the same way to a challenge, will not answer the same way to a fasting. So it is we need to relearn nutrition for precision fed pigs. So because this we now start to define precision nutrition instead of just a precision feeding. Because in the beginning we studied really the feeding and the equipment and how to
Right.
avoid cross contamination. And now we are really into the point of how can we tailor the diets so that we can not only provide them with the diet that they need, but also that we can modulate the growth in the sense of can we modulate these animals to have a linear gain? So we're playing with the net energy of the diet. We're playing with the profile of amino acids that go in those diets. We're also working, we noticed that if we give a different amino acid concentration for slow growing pigs versus the fast growing pigs, we can improve the heterogeneity of this herd and we can bring these lower growing pigs closer to this. So there is we're still uh, actually discover the amount of possibilities that we have with precision feeding, but I'll not lie that it is technology, it's difficult, and we have a lot of challenges that are mainly linked to technology. And I think the biggest difficulty we have in agriculture is have people willing to work in artificial intelligence and all that we need to develop, right, these tools so they are easy to be used by the producers.
Hmm. Another follow-up question on some of your research. I know we've been talking about growing pigs, right? Like piglets all the way up to finishing, but do you do this with sows as well in your breeding herd?
So, in our specific farm, no, but I have colleagues in the CDPQ, that is the Quebec Expertise Center, Laetitia Cloutier. She worked with goats and sows doing precision feeding, and they have quite good results. I have some colleagues in Brazil, Dr. Bruno Silva. He also works with precision feeding for sows, and Charlotte Gaillard at INRAE she also works with souls.
Very cool. It's just interesting, right? Those would be two different audiences, I guess, from my perspective, but two different groups, right? That would maybe need a little different. The needs might be different, but the precision part of it is still the same, right? I mean, you're still trying to hone in on exactly what that animal needs, not give them too little or too much is one of the goals, right?
Correct. And I think also lately there is a big component of health status that is coming in. So precision feeding also offers, especially in growing finishing pigs, we can see a change in feed intake 2 to 3 days before they have a clinical sign. So especially when we're talking about early disease detection, I think there is a lot of potential there. And I think also there is the potential for us to modulate the diet or change the diets to help these animals during a sanitary challenge. There's several papers being published showing how much changes in amino acid and energy can help those animals during a sanitary challenge. And having a tool like precision feeders that tailor the diet for each one of these animals, I think is a great opportunity there.
Very good. And our last question is really about, practicality, right? How practical is precision feeding to implement on a commercial operation? Because I'm assuming you've done a lot of your research more in a research facility versus a commercial operation.
So when we're talking about yields and sales, the technology is there, is available, is commercial. When we're talking about group precision feeding, there is also feeders able to do that. And I think you still need a little bit of knowledge transfer so that we can improve this group precision feeding, but the technology is available. Now, for individual precision feeding, so far we have been working with prototypes, and we ourselves are in the prototype number 6, and now we just received number 7. But finally, there is a commercial company that is actually developing individual precision feeders, and by the end of the swine cluster, that is a global Canadian project, we should have individual feeders available. So that is one of the biggest problem is the equipment, right? And I think once we have the equipment, likely we'll be training people to work in precision feeding. But I think overall what has slowed down the implementation was really the availability at a reasonable cost, let's say.
Right. And so there is the equipment component, but then there's also, I would think this would require more labor, more planning, more direct work with a nutritionist, right? To be changing the diet kind of, I don't want to say continuously, but certainly somebody's monitoring everything, right?
I think probably you'll have, if we think commercially, I would imagine that you'll have a bigger company overseeing. But the way the feeder works today, we have a model that is inside and it does automatically with the curves. So the program would be, yes, reviewed by the nutritionist and probably adjusted as needed over time. But the feeder does it by itself, a bit like does with the sauce. Is the same principle. It provides automatically the diet according to what we preset the feeder to do. And
I
then as
see.
new data come in, right, it collects in real time and the model readjusts the diet in real time as well.
Interesting. That's really cool because it's, in my mind, I was thinking kind of it's, the nutritionist would be modifying, changing over time, but I suppose you go into it with a plan, right, for the life cycle of that pig, right? And it's implementing that more than anything once you get into it, right?
Yeah, right. So like I think there is two ways you can do it. In the group phase feeding, you can have a preset curve that you follow, and then you just will use feed intake to readjust the concentrations of the nutrient. And the machine does it automatically because there is a mathematical model behind that
Right.
will adjust this concentration. In the individual feeder will be the same. You have the feed intake and the body weight being collected in real time. And every day, as function of what the animal did in the last day, it will do a short prediction and adjust the diet, but it's done automatically normally. Of course, when we work in the trials, there is this manual labor as we go, but commercially, it's all automatic. Yeah.
So it would be, you would kind of go through a cycle and then the nutritionist would really look back at that to say, did this work or do we need to tweak this model, right? To be a little bit different might be the way, might be the approach kind of on farm that you'd be working with it.
Yeah, or even the farms that are doing group, for example, group precision feeding now, they can go weekly and can because as you're collecting data in real time, you
Right,
know how they're performing, right? So they
right.
can go weekly and say, okay, this plan might need to be adjusted. Maybe it's not there is some tweaks that we need to do here, but you can actually that's the biggest advantage is that you have the data in real time, which is not the what happens in farms today.
Right.
In farms, it's very rare that we actually know what their animals are consuming and gaining in the day.
Right.
So for the nutritionist to actually access from his computer at distance and have an idea of what is going and adjust is quite quick. But yes, we'll probably have it happens in real time, but you can also have a preset
Right.
setting. I think you lose a little bit of how much you can save when you have a presetting versus if you're working in real time. But it's always, I think, precision feeding is not one size fits all. And I think each farm will use the amount of technology and automation that needs
Yeah.
and that feels comfortable with. And I think we'll go slowly uh, increasing how much we will. Uh, use these technologies in real time, or as a little bit as we see in any other field, right? If we
Right.
practice chat GPT and all these things, we could not imagine this a few years ago, right? And now it's part of our life. I think is the same for the farmer.
Very good. And I would think that as you said, this is gonna evolve fairly quickly, potentially over the next, several years. Things like this will really make a difference. Are they doing this? I know you're, of course, based in Canada. Are they doing this in other countries too? I know you mentioned Brazil has some studies and trials that you're aware of. Is this something that is more commonly done in other parts of the world? Or are we all still on the front end of this?
Um, Difficult question. I think it depends on what level of precision feeding we're talking. So if you're talking those, we do have European countries doing. We have France, we have Spain, you have some Brazilian farms doing. Is not the same level of really daily tailoring the diet for each one of the pigs and using real-time data. Although they use the data of the individuals and they tailor, is still not as individualized because for shows it's difficult to actually predict how many piglets
Right,
or all these things. So it still relies a lot on traditional models. So there's a little bit this difference, but yes, it's becoming more and more common all around. For growing and finishing pigs, for sure we are ahead of it because as it is a Canadian product, let's say,
right.
we are leading the task, and for sure research is way ahead of commercial for now. And I think it's how it's supposed to be. While we have the feeders being implemented in the field now for testing, I'm already doing the research that we will need in 10 years, and that's normal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But I do not know of other countries other than North America that are really leading in precision feeding for growing finished pigs. I have colleagues, Dr. Luciano Rauschat, who actually created the model for precision feeding, works in Brazil, and he does trials on that, but is also not commercial yet.
Right.
Dr. Inês Andretta also works in Brazil. They all did their PhDs here in Canada and then went back and continued the research line. But commercially, I don't think is yet available, individual precision feeding.
Right. Interesting. Very good. Well, thank you so much for all the information today, Aline. This is really interesting stuff and cutting edge, it feels like. So thank you again for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Sarah Mikesell with the Pig Site, working in collaboration with LifeStart Swine.